Hello! So my last video was actually published earlier today, but it was just a time lapse and I hadn't made much content before that. I believe it had been almost like a week and a half since I last uploaded, before I uploaded that. So I'm sorry about that. Need to be more consistent with my uploading. But I was busy trying to finish 3 modeling commissions and got locked out of my Twitter account for no reason, so I had to deal with that. Anyways, yeah, let's get right into the video. Alright, so recently with some commissions, I've been doing some low-poly modeling. And this has been something that's been very different from what I'm used to doing. I'm used to doing, I don't know, some mid-poly stuff. Stuff around cars that I make, generally around 30,000 triangles. And I've been working with stuff now that's like 1,000. And that's been a bit of a challenge. So, yeah, I'm going to cover just low poly modeling and how it's been to me and some of the challenges. And I'm also going to say that low poly modeling isn't easier, really, than higher poly modeling. And why I don't really understand why people sometimes see low poly as low effort. So yeah, let's get right into that. Alright, so with any time that you 3D model, you're going to want to keep good topology. This is important no matter what you do. But I feel that it's especially important when you're doing low poly modeling, as you can't just use a subsurf modifier to smooth over any of your mistakes. And you've got to keep it very consistent throughout the entire model, otherwise the model itself won't really look good, as you don't want to have a really big quad here and then a very small triangle there. You really want to keep it consistent, and you want to keep it consistent with higher polygon stuff again, but you can kind of just use a subsurf to smooth over that some of the times. So I feel like low poly modeling really emphasizes your ability to maintain decent topology, and that's been a real challenge for me. Some of the stuff I've done, I'm like, I sit at that and think, oh, that looks good. And then other stuff, I've looked at it and it's like, oh, I don't like that, and I kind of have to redo a good chunk of that because I can't just smooth over it. Yeah, so now let's cover another aspect of low poly modeling. Alright, so another thing that I find especially challenging with low poly modeling, in a place where I guess I really haven't been challenged before, is creating like smooth stuff. Or making it appear smooth. So a recent low poly project I had was to create a Ferrari, specifically a LaFerrari. This was a commission, of course, and that was a bit of an issue. Because when you think about a Ferrari, especially the recent ones, maybe not so much the ones in the 80s and 90s, you think very smooth and sleek, elegant design, and that was something that I found especially challenging with this low poly model. I made another supercar in low poly, and that was a Gallardo, and that was fairly easy. As the Gallardo, it's basically a wedge, a smoothed over wedge, but this was not. It was very much something else. It had big side indents and hood and vents and smooth, sleek areas and a ton of different stuff. And I found it very difficult to capture in the low poly art style, as it's not smooth. And I mean, to begin with, topology on that would probably be an issue. But it was made harder by the fact that you can't just you can't really smooth over it. It was a challenge. The front, I think, turned out okay, but moving on to the back, you had some definitely stranger sections, harder stuff to cover with quads and basic shapes. And whereas other stuff you would once again have modifiers to help you out, you don't here. And that left me feeling very stuck, especially for the rear. Oh, the rear. The rear was a mess. I don't especially like the rear on that. I feel like capturing with low poly modeling, what you want to do is capture the aura of the vehicle. The shape is important, definitely. But another thing you want to capture is the feeling of the vehicle. I don't think I did an especially good job on that with this project. So, yeah. Oh, and it's now to my final point and talk about low poly modeling. Yeah, let's get into that. All right, so my final thing is just covering why I'm confused. Why when some people see low poly, they immediately think that probably wasn't that hard to make. Now, I'm honestly confused by this, and I think this is mostly due to most of my development being on the Roblox platform. So, low poly is a common art style to pick, as it will run easier on low-end devices, as you're not dealing with a lot of triangles. And that's especially important when you're working on this platform. So I feel like since many games default to that, as it looks pretty good, and it can run on most things, or it makes it easier for the game to run on most things, many people just see the low poly art style in the community that I'm in, and sometimes they just look at it and it's like, oh, another one of those. And it's oftentimes much more impressive to people to see much more detailed things with a lot of detail, as Roblox really has only started to adopt textures and meshes recently. Most of what it has been is very basic bricks or simple, very, very simple meshes. So many people see that and it's like, oh, well, there's 10 low poly games and 3 higher detailed stuff. That higher detailed stuff must be more difficult. And while to an extent high poly stuff is more difficult, I'd say it takes more time. It's just that low poly modeling offers a lot of challenge depending on what you're doing, because you have to create good shapes with very low amounts of detail, and with more detailed stuff, it certainly takes a lot of work and a lot of time. But that's not to say creating something that looks good in the low poly art style does not take a lot of time. I mean, we can look at something like Art of Rally, recently released game, not on the Roblox platform, but it featured a low poly art style, and that is a beautiful game. So, yeah, I think it's just that when you hear low poly, you might think is some of those junk mobile games, which use that since all the more platforms that can run on, lower end hardware can run it. When in reality, I'd say both styles offer unique challenges, and can be really great things to do. So like I went from making mid poly stuff to making low poly stuff for a short period of time. And that was a real challenge, as it wasn't what I'd used to, and I'd say it expanded my knowledge of modeling and all of that. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'd always appreciate subscribing. It's great. The channel's been growing a ton recently. We're already at 75 subscribers. Anyways, yeah. See you in the next video. Hopefully it won't be a week and a half from now. Bye.